Here's Gaze. Another alley-oop pass to Copeland! Oh! That's what we've been waiting for. Unbelievable timing on that. And it's the Tigers straight away. Gaze. Alley-oop to Copeland! What a start!
Welcome to the Ultimate Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Hello, and yes, it is. Welcome back to the Inside NBL Show, our weekly preview, and it's round 18 now. Look, a bit of a funny week this one, only 2 on doubles. As always, we are brought here today by the Standard Squeeze, Ryan from Astute Newstead, and Bonus Bank. I'm the Supercoach Matrix, and I'm here with my co-host, the Hamburglar himself, Hammer. Mate, how was your weekend?
My weekend was sensational. Long weekend, tacked an extra day on the other side of it, and I grew a beard. It's gone now, but I felt like you for the weekend and kind of played like you. I only had 410 this week.
Look, I'm a bit offended there, but I tell you what, isn't it freeing having a beard? Like, you just walk down the street and you just see people admire you. Isn't it great being me?
Absolutely. I was just walking around. I just felt like I'm the bearded dragon. Come look at me now. But back to reality.
Yeah, back to reality, back to work, back to it's as smooth as a baby's bottom there, I'd say.
What about your weekend, mate? You fill it out all right?
Yeah, look, I tell you what, I think I mowed the lawn and had about 4 showers through that event.
Gross.
Queensland is like either you get 90 mils of rain or it's 45 degrees heat at the moment. So it's fantastic. My roof is leaking right behind me. So if you see me slide back, it's only because I want to get hit in the face with some water because of how hot it is. But yeah, look, let's talk some NBL. Look, we're going to go through the breaking news. We're going to go through how we went this week. We're, of course, going to go through our squeeze of the week. We've still got 3 more packs to give out this year. Our round 18 preview, but we might just, tie it in with some strategies for this part of the season. And like, instead of reviewing, we'll just go through some of the top tier guys and how they went, or some of the highly owned guys and how they went. We're, of course, going to go through our most traded as we do every week. We're going to go through our trade and captain thoughts and answering your questions along the way. Let's head into some breaking news.
It's time for some news from around the league.
Mate, firstly, the PSA is Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, or 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, with the Cairns versus Tasmania. But DJ3J signed a 3-year contract, which is big for an import in the NBL, right?
Well, first off, he's not an import, but yeah, massive. It's it's an interesting one. It's also the worst kept secret. This deal's been coming for a fair while, but interesting considering they don't have a coach. Like, do you really want to be making that bigger roster moves? But yeah, look, he's been solid for him, and he's at a pretty decent price if he's going to go into next year and be relevant.
Maybe he will be the guy helping decide the new coach, because he's going to be there for 3 years. And look, coaches don't seem to stick around for 3 years.
Yeah, pretty interesting one though, isn't it? Where they were always talking about the roster construction. It wasn't great. And that led to CJ getting fired. But now they're talking about running it back with a fair few of these guys. Humphrey, Trey Kell's getting mentioned in bringing him back after he was, on the chopping block early doors. Yeah, it's played out pretty. It's almost been a tale of 2 seasons for both Adelaide and Illawarra.
Yeah, right. It's just been weird, and like there hasn't been, what would I say, bottom feeders. Like Southeast Melbourne were contenders at the start of the year, and now they're last. Like the Breakers have looked phenomenal at times. They've been great for Supercoach. We've been adding guys for the Breakers for a long time, but they're 8th. Like the Taipans are 7th. Like I don't know. It's such a weird NBL season. Like the Jack Jumpers at time looked terrible. The Kings went and beat Melbourne after losing to basically everybody else. I can't work it out.
It is funny though, isn't it? How the real game and the Supercoach or fantasy game sometimes don't translate with who the stars are. I think the Supercoach model has done a better job of reflecting the actual stars. But if you go back to fantasy, like there were guys who were fantasy studs who you wouldn't pick for your actual team.
Yeah, I think well, one thing we all missed out was JLA. He was sensational last week.
Massive.
And in just one game. He outscored my captain in one game.
Everyone outscored your captain this week, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Means a lot, especially coming from you. Look, maybe we should just head into how we went. And considering I'm copping some slack this week, I would say my team went respectable. I had no Cotton. I had no Creek. I had Lamb as captain, which was a bit of a flop. But I would say excellent bench play all round with Cheatham, Will McDowell-White, Usher, and Kel kept me in it. Like Clark, Valentine, and Lamb helped. They were serviceable, and especially helped to stem the headache of having Robinson and Froling in my starting lineup. I still moved up 7 spots. I still had green arrows, and I'm into 475th. I expected a worse week looking at my scores. So, not so bad.
That's good. Mate, I finished with 410. I captained Creek, which was an absolute blessing because the rest of the squad was pretty ordinary. Creek carried me, and that was more by luck than design. To be honest, I made the decision before this round to load up on a bit of Adelaide, a bit of Tassie, playing the head-to-head format. I was prepared to throw this week and concede and go all in next week. That I'll probably get this a bit later on. That all those plans are out the window because I somehow managed to win this week on the buzzer thanks to a huge game by Valentine. But yeah, mate, 410, I was really happy considering I was throwing this week pretty much and was expecting to get like 200.
Yeah, well, I wasn't throwing this week, and look, you still didn't beat me, so that was true to form. You know what is also true to form? Me losing to the community team. Our community team got 428 last week and moved back only 4 spots into 52nd overall. Now, that was with Bryce Cotton captain. They had Lamb. They had Gaz Clark. They had Sam Froling. They had Jalen Adams starting. Blanchfield with 38 off the bench.
He was great.
Gack with 31 off the bench, and then Humphreys and Trey Kell and Jalen Galloway. Another good week from the community team. Look, top 50s in their sights. I just have a look. They've only got 2 on doubles next week. So there's and we're going to talk about our strategies a bit later on about where we're at the moment. But it's going to be interesting to see what people do, whether you load up next week on Adelaide and Tassie players and then slowly move them back out, or you just start moving towards players on doubles.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what everyone thinks with this. Are we taking it 1 week at a time? Is this a 3-week proposition? Like, for someone like our community team that's really up the pointy end of the rankings, this is going to require a little bit of strategy. This is, there's some guys who are going to throw some Hail Marys here and, and I've been there before. I finished 35th in the old fantasy format once. And I was 15th coming into the last round. And you got to make that call. Do you throw a Hail Mary and try and get top 10? Or do you play it safe and keep where you are? It's be interesting to get some thoughts in the Discord.
And I'm starting to get it in the chat. Like, let's just bring up, look, I just want to call out Flying Toilets with Cody Statman. I'm not even joking. If I could spell Statman right, when I was loading in with 2 minutes left going into the game, I was probably going to downgrade to Statman. So fantastic call from a Flying Toilet there. And Corey Blackledge has good chat earlier on. And we're gonna be answering all the questions along the way. But this was a really good one. His thoughts are on Todd Blanchfield for Gak, but then also Magnay for Bolden. So Bolden out for Magnay. There's sort of a little bit of going back to a cheapie, I suppose, and then like going to a big pod for this round, trying to get back into the top 100. Magnay's a pod.
Yeah, I like Blanchfield too. Look, Gak was disappointing. Like Toilet was onto something with Statman because look, Southeast Melbourne, they've got the janitor suiting up, man. They are so thin that they can't even field a team. Creek, I went with him for the exact same reason as captain this week because they've got no choice but to play him. Statman is going to play. Anzac Restretto played. But Gak, he got the minutes, didn't produce. Todd Blanchfield, on the other hand, he all of a sudden has, A, fallen into favour with Tatum and is getting the minutes, and B, he's producing when he's out there. Like, for that price and the schedule running it out, I really like that play.
So there's two good. Do you like Magnay in for next week?
Yep. Look, Magnay Bolden's a sideways move with more upside. And the reason I say sideways is it's a double this week without many, and we know he's got a massive ceiling. He could go big. He could also lay an egg. But you still got to think what happens the week after. Who have you got as a backup centre that can come in to start? Do you trade him? Do you have enough trades? I love it as long as there's planning around it.
No, I like it as well. Sometimes you got to risk it to get the biscuit, and Magnay is like that high upside, high reward. Could also like just ruin your season as well. So, I wish you all the best, Corey. I like it.
Do it.
I'd do it.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Froling as a backup center next week. So, so sounds pretty good there. I've got Hump there at center, so I don't have a lot of flexibility at center. But Magnay can play the forward as well, so maybe that'll help me.
Helps a lot.
Let's go into our squeeze of the week. Aaron from Starling for MVP, fantastic name there, with 495. And can I say that Aaron's not just a sniper team? He is 99th overall. So fantastic work from Aaron. Look forward to getting in contact with you, having a bit of a chat, and sending you out a 4-in-1 or our standard squeeze pack. So that was sensational.
Can we check? Does he have Starling in his team? Because I feel like with that team name, if you don't have Starling, everything's void.
No, he doesn't have Starling in his team. I did have a quick look through. So
wow.
He got 495. He doesn't have Starling in his team. Dave from Do It For Jack is still holding on to number one, but only by 50 points overall. Still a couple hundred points in our Insight League. But yeah, I believe the other guy had a boost, and the second guy might have something silly, like I think it was something crazy, like 11 players on doubles for the last 2 weeks already. So
wow.
Mate, he's made some moves. Yeah, he's made some moves, and Dave, I hope Dave's enough in front this week to move enough. Yeah.
You'd hate to have been, out the front, leading the pack the entire season just to be pipped at the post. So, hopefully we can come up with a bit of strategy and a few tips to help a guy who's outproduced us all year. I don't know how that works, but we could try. And also, you would hate to be what you were just explaining was Stephen Bradbury. So, that's the one.
Yeah. Look, let's have a look at some strategies this week. It might not be too long. I know, like this season, people are starting to taper off a little bit with NBL. I still love it. I've still been enjoying watching the games. Every game's nearly been close at the moment.
Yeah.
But for Supercoach, do you load up on Adelaide and Tassie players only for them to finish in 2 singles? I think you have to have a contingency plan to get them out, or do you just start to load up on the teams that finish on doubles, like New Zealand and Illawarra, and maybe tank this week? What's if you're playing overall, Hammer, I know you've sort of moved a little bit to head due to the fact that we're in some comps where it's $1,000. It's no real, it's no slouch money. What overall? What overall would you be doing if you were trying to move up in the ranks?
For sure. Look, I think you've got to almost hedge your bets, right? Like you've got someone like let's do it for Jack, for example. The like if the other guy's already loaded up and he's potentially not going to have Adelaide this week, this is your week to get a little bit of a little bit of separation up there. I don't know if you'd be bringing Adelaide guys in or Tassie guys in necessarily if you hadn't had them already and been planning for it. Like, for example, I'd already brought in McVeigh last week and I held Humph and I held Trey Kell. So I think a lot of guys will have Trey Kell. He's probably going to be a majority captain choice. But, I mean, as long as you've got maybe one that you can captain on a double, I feel like some of these better players, like a Cotton, a Gary Clark, some of those guys on a single may be better than some guys you're trying to hold out for on a double, like Vasiljevic. He scores a lot of points, but sometimes it doesn't translate. Hump had a shocker last week. Wiley has a ceiling of about 25 that he never seems to be able to get past. And outside of that, Adelaide don't have much. You look at Tassie. Milton Doyle has, let's call it what it is. It's been a pretty subpar last few months for him. Jordan Crawford has been as likely to give you 40 as he is to give you -2. And Magnay, he's rocks and diamonds. So I don't think it's worth selling, everything to go big this week if you haven't already got it. What do you reckon?
I'm sort of I'd love to have 3, maybe 4 people on doubles this week and then slowly move them out, like move 2 onto doubles in the upcoming week. And then to just have one of these better guys on a single going forward. Perth's an interesting one because Perth have a double in the last week. So I probably won't be trading out. Look, I only have Usher, but he's been really good the last couple of weeks as well. I'll be trading out Denzel Valentine. He's definitely, his season's done for me. He's been serviceable throughout the end of the season after getting him a bit cheaper. Actually, no, I paid stupid for him. Don't ignore me. But I'm starting to think whether maybe a Justin Robinson or somebody's dead wood. I'm definitely holding, my Illawarra players, of which I have 3. I'm definitely holding my New Zealand players, which I have 2. And I'm going to try and maneuver the other players. Actually, I have 3 New Zealand players and 3 Illawarra players already. I'll be looking to maneuver those other guys just to see what I can afford in maybe a captain option from Tasmania and Adelaide.
Who would you say is easily playable on a single versus bringing in an Adelaide or a Tassie guy on a double? Like for example, is a Cotton on a single, is that neutral if you consider then not bringing in maybe a McVeigh?
Yeah, I think definitely over a McVeigh. I think I would definitely prefer Trey Kell on a double than Cotton on a single, but McVeigh is probably the perfect, I suppose, line. I think anyone worse than McVeigh, you'd rather play Cotton on a single, but I think anyone better than McVeigh, I'd rather play Doyle on a double. I'd rather play Kell on a double. I'd probably rather play Humphreys on a double than Cotton on a single.
So Cotton's that guy. Is there anyone else on that level? Like a lot of guys may be holding on to Mitch Creek. Is Mitch Creek on that same level?
Not playing Melbourne this week. Definitely not.
No?
No, I think him lined up with I really think him lined up with like Luke Travis or somebody like that. I know he's going to get a lot of shots. I still don't think I'd hold Mitch Creek this week, especially knowing that he's just going single into the next 3 rounds.
All right. So you brought up an interesting one with holding Usher. Now, I like this, especially with Perth, but also New Zealand and Illawarra. if we're talking about these guys on the bench that, some of us have built up guys on the bench, on that level that's maybe a Denzel Valentine. Who can we pivot sideways for and hold for the rest of the season? Usher's one. McDowell White's probably another one.
Yep.
Webster.
Yep.
Is
Cheatham?
there anyone else we should be looking at?
Cheatham? He's really good again. He's up and down, but I'm willing to take the risk with the 2 doubles to finish the year.
Yeah. And the opportunity's there. He almost had a double-double in the first half and then just kind of went a bit missing, bit of foul trouble, things like that going on. Yeah. So, look, they're probably the main ones. And then Illawarra, we've talked about Blanchfield. Most guys will be holding Gary Clark, Sam Froling already. Is there anyone else in Illawarra, if you don't already hold Harvey or Robinson, are those 2 guys we should be looking at?
I'm holding Robinson. I don't know whether he's a trade out. I don't think he's a trade out. I think he's just, I've made my bed, I'm going to lie in it. But I think you can't really go much more Illawarra. I think you're going to have to find yourself, like, I'm going to trade out my Adelaide guys next week. Probably your Trey Kells and your Humphreys. Maybe start to work towards I don't know, work towards a Cotton again. I'm not even sure. That last week there's a few on doubles.
Yeah, I feel like for those guys competing, down to the wire with your overall, Perth may be the difference. And it's probably going to be in your bench. Because if you think about it, if guys are setting themselves up right, everyone's going to have a Lamb, a PJC, a Gary Clark, a Sam Froling. There's going to be so much common. And we know it happened at the start of the year when, Cairns had that run. Everyone had a Wardenberg and they just cancel each other out. I really feel like those last couple of weeks, the bench and your captain choice are going to be what makes the difference.
I'm actually thinking, I'm looking at the price, and I hope it doesn't change too much overnight, over the course of the week. But Isaac Humphreys to Joe Luala-Chul, straight fucking swap right now. They're both 339K. Melbourne have a double right at the end. So everybody wants to run Sam Froling at the end. If I have Joe Luala-Chul on a double and Sam Froling on a double, I'm not playing Sam Froling. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't care how good your season's been. It's Joe Luala-Chul.
That's your point of difference, though. It's going to be the difference between settling for where you're at when everyone plays that, and that's a good pod because it's got high upside. We know JLA can go for that 52, and we know Sam Froling can go for the 15 that he had this week. So, if you've got that trade up your pocket, I don't hate it at all. Even if you keep Froling on your bench.
Well, having already having 3 Illawarra players and 3 New Zealand players, I've already got a full starting lineup all around. I'm going to go JLA or somebody like that. I've already got Lamb. I don't think I'll be trading out Lamb just to trade him back in or anything like that. I think I've got my captain maybe in a Kell.
I think Kell's the safe one this week. He had 35 Supercoach points. And what was really interesting about that, because he was playing well and it was a bit of a blowout. If you look at the box score, he only played about 22 minutes, which was odd. He wasn't in foul trouble. Vasiljevic played 36 or 7 minutes from memory. I don't know why he didn't play that much at all. His score could have been massive. He was on fire.
I'm still toying with having a punt on Milton Doyle this week. I don't know. There's just something there. I'm 29K short from Valentine to Mitchell Doyle, so I'd have to downgrade somebody. Heck, maybe I end up downgrading an Usher or someone. Maybe I just go and...
Is it cheaper if you type in Milton Doyle instead of Mitchell Doyle?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Did I say Mitchell? Sorry, these hit different. I actually have a mate. I actually have somebody I play NFL fantasy with, Mitch Doyle. So I think he's a rider for the Broncos. So I'm still, sorry there, Mitch, but enjoy a shout out.
I'm still working on my wife to call our next kid Milton, and it's not working real well. She's not buying it.
I kind of like it.
So do I. She's not feeling it though.
Oh, Geez, that's disappointing. I'll have a chat to her for you.
You should, absolutely. Petition.
Mate, do we want to go through, rather than Supercoach reviews, and we've started touching on some of the players anyway, let's have a chat through some of the biggest, I suppose, points of the round. And the captain of the week was Mitch Creek, wasn't it? Take it from there, because you had him captain. I didn't own him.
Look, it's
talk to me about it.
It's all about opportunity. He played the first game against Sydney, and this was a surprise. Like, my biggest concern coming in was that, he'd get the minutes, but Southeast Melbourne are going to get absolutely blown out of this game. It's going to be over at halftime. Fans are going to go home. But they won? Man, this wasn't even close. They were in control the whole game. Creek played the 37 minutes, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals. He was everywhere. They were looking for him. It was an all-round complete game and was never in doubt. That was massive and a really nice start to the round, yeah?
Yeah. The next couple, it's hard that we probably didn't focus on it because we did think of them as 1 week streamers, but that was Joe Luala-Chul and Luke Travis with 77 and 75. They were sensational. They're mid-300s players for that reason. Honestly, it's only been schedule permitting that we don't have Joe Luala-Chul and Luke Travis, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's sort of the sad thing. Like, the way the schedule is, Cairns was so prominent for us with really no amazing options outside of probably Taj and possibly Miller. But, the schedule really has made a lot of good players semi-irrelevant this year. But those two, it wasn't really like 2 really consistent games, was it? Like, JLA had 52 and then hardly showed up in the second game.
They ripped Brisbane to pieces, Jody.
Yeah, that was an absolute
massacre.
It was a autopsy. They just pulled him apart with absolute precision. But, he was good. He came off the bench in that one. They still started Ariel Hakporti. Hakporti played about 17 minutes, had 15 Supercoach points, but off the bench, JLA, and look, this is what makes it even more impressive. 23 minutes he played. 33 points, 13 rebounds, an assist and 3 steals. He didn't even have a block. The last time he popped up like this, he had 7 blocks.
He's 2.4% owned and scored 52 points in a game.
He was a man-child. But you can understand that, right? He'd taken the last 2 or 3 games off on personal reasons, and we weren't certain he was going to suit up, were we?
No. And look, I felt like a bit of a goober when I was watching him play against Rocco Zakarski and Aaron Baines and just shaking my head. I was so excited for this one. I just watched what was it? Did I just watch Tassie lose or Sydney lose or whatever? Anyway, I've just told Elle, I was like, mate, we could finish 4th if we can win this one. So I've sat down, I've got my beer, I've got the kid to bed. I was about 5 minutes late and we were down 10 and that was about the closest we were the whole game. It was awful. Yeah. I actually did the dishes rather than watching the end of this one.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. It's over before it begins. But what's probably good for you, and it's something that's been a saving grace for my Jack Jumpers, is that everyone keeps losing. There is so much parity, probably from 3rd through to 8th, that Tassie have been on a massive slide. We've been losing every game we should win. And for some freak of nature, we are holding on to 3rd position.
I don't know how.
Yeah,
did they win that game where I messaged you and said, gee, Tassie suck at the moment?
It's insane. We knock off every brilliant team and we lose to every shit team. And then we go to double overtime and lose in a Kimby wetter. It's a really hard time to be a fan. Blood pressure's on the roof.
It's rough, but there's good NBL games. Honestly, this is probably the year I've enjoyed the NBL the most in the last little while as a fan. Let's just have a quick chat about 3.2% owned Zylan Cheatham. Now, I have him.
Hang on a minute. Just go back a second to Luke Travers. That second game against Sydney, He only played the 26 minutes as well. I'll read you out his stat line and tell me that this does not look like a 54-point Supercoach performance. It looks mediocre, but it's just added up. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 blocks.
Yeah.
He's just quietly gone about his business and dropped a 54. Thank you very much.
And perfectly got the double-double, so got the bonus double-double points. Went and got the 5 blocks. Like, you know what blocks are worth the most out of any counting stat? Let's get that one.
It's a handful. But Joe Lawal in this one only had the 17 Supercoach points. So we really are at rocks and diamonds with these guys, aren't we?
And it's Luke Travis's defense against Mitch Creek, which had me advising you against holding him another week.
Yeah, which is fair enough too. They match up reasonably well. They're both undersized mobile fours. I feel like they'll either cancel each other out or they'll both go for a bag.
Yeah,
mate. Back to your point, Zylan Cheatham.
Zylan Cheatham, 3.2% owned, 71 Supercoach points. I don't need to talk too much about it, but after this week, they have 2 doubles to finish the year. He's 270K now. He has a break even of 2. You might miss the boat on Zylan Cheatham if you don't add him this week. He is rocks and diamonds, but I think over 4 games, you're going to get as many diamonds as you do rocks.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think he's been that bad. He's one of those guys. I don't call plays for him. He's rebounding well. He's had, he's been coming back from a pretty serious injury. Only played the 23 minutes this last game. He was in foul trouble, but in that 23 minutes, had 19 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals for 37 Supercoach points. The opportunity is going to be there. This is a game where a lot of them were in foul trouble. Parker Jackson Cartwright only played the 22 minutes. Lamb's their guy. He played the 33. Somehow eked out 28 Supercoach points. I was watching this one pretty closely, the Illawarra New Zealand game, because had a lot of implications for me in head-to-head, and I was just, hoping every time Lamb touched the ball it was a turnover. But look,
and
Cheatham could be the play.
Every time Lamb touched the ball, it was a turnover.
You know what? It felt like that. I've got the box score here. How many turnovers do you reckon he had?
I don't know. Like, it's just, I saw him just drive to the hoop and just get blocked. Like
0 turnovers.
I just saw him he just didn't look himself, right?
No, he was out of it. Only 3 of 13 from the field. It just wasn't the dominant performance we saw. He had the 13 actual points, the 7 rebounds, but those rebounds just fell in his lap. He was not the dominant guy we've seen the last few weeks. And look, I've got no doubt he'll bounce back. It was a bit of a hard game to play in, but
he's a hold.
Cheatham's the guy. Yeah. If you've got a guy like Wiley, like Cheatham may be, and you're not starting him this week, Cheatham may be the guy to load up for the back end of the season.
And you have to do it this week because Cheatham's just about to be priced out of. It's harder to find north of 300K than it is to find 270.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
We can talk about Cotton a little bit. Cotton had a pretty ordinary first game, probably his worst game of the season, and then come good with the 45 Supercoach points in the second game.
Yeah. Look, that first game against Illawarra, again, they've kept him under wraps both games they've played this year, which is interesting. Look, had a bit of wind in my sails after that one, having captained Creek. It's always one of those, even watching that game, I was like, he only had 9 Supercoach points, I think, at half time, maybe less. I'm thinking, it's only a matter of time before he explodes. And he salvaged maybe 21, I think. But that second game was much more him. He had 14 Supercoach points, I remember, at quarter time. And look, he padded it late. He had a lot in the last quarter of some cheapies. But, look, Cotton's never going to have 2 shockers in a row, is he?
Yeah. And I just want to have a chat about one more. Ben Eyre, 196K, 65 Supercoach point. It's just the fact that there's not a lot of men out there, and Ben Air was a man. Like, he was...
Man, that soundbite has gotten so much more air time than it deserved this season. But look, there are some guys who've held him for the year. You wouldn't have been served too badly. He had that little bit of a bit of a lull in the middle of the schedule, but he's been good, and you don't see it changing these last couple of weeks, even if it's on a single. Like he's as good as Taron Armstrong right now, hanging on your bench.
Yeah, and
Definitely
I've
an
got rid of
upgrade from
Taron
Bale.
now, but I probably wish I did go to Ben Air there at some stage. But I suppose due to somebody like Gary Brown still being out, and
Yeah.
I just look. It's getting towards the end of the season. I've got to get a few of them out there. And then to round out, we've got Gaz Clark, we've got Jalen Adams, we've got Parker Jackson Cartwright, still all score, and Keanu Pinder, still all scoring about that 60. But we expect that, so we'll move on from there. I feel like we don't really need to do the previews,
No.
but let's head into chatting maybe a little bit about Tassie and having a little bit of a chat about Adelaide. So, Tassie players that you like for getting in this week, maybe some captain options. Talk to me about your Jack Jumpers.
Yeah. Look, I think, to be honest, there's 4 guys we can talk about. Right? Of those 4, we've got varying degrees of comfort in bringing them in. Doyle's the obvious one, right? He hasn't been playing well, but he's also been able to impact the stat sheet across the board. Like he's had a few games where he's got to half time and he's only taken 2 field goal attempts, but he might have 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He seems to contribute, and he just seems to eke out a score. Crawford has been in a funk too. The whole team's been a bit funky. Like McVeigh's probably solid. You can probably bank on him for 25. He's got that dual position eligibility, which makes him good as well, and as does Will Magnay. Like we said, rocks and diamonds. What are your thoughts there? They're probably only the 4 relevant ones, aren't they?
Look, I'd probably just throw in, maybe when he was 30 or 40K cheaper a couple of weeks ago, like Marcus Lee. I don't hate it as a center only option, but now he's like 60K cheaper than Magnay. Like, obviously, I'd prefer Magnay. That's the long and short of it. But Marcus Lee's he's got a 3-round average of 30 and he's 220K. I think he's worth talking about. It's just I would rather play Magnay, or I would rather play Hump this week than Marcus Lee. But I would have brought in Marcus Lee in preparation last week if Hump or Lee were forward eligible as well. I just didn't bring him in because I would have had him on the bench anyway.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
I like McVeigh for his price, and I like Jordan Crawford if you're having a punt, because he could score you 80 this week, or he could score you 40. Probably 30, honestly.
Yeah. Look, look, you're right. The upside's there. There's games where he's hitting his shot, he carries the load for him, and he chimes in with some assists. Like, I've seen games where he should have had 10, 15 assists and guys just can't hit a shot. But it does scare me that Tassie have been in a funk. Their offense has been stagnant. It's look, it's hard to get those assists when no one's making a shot. And they're the ones that Doyle and Crawford rely on, as well as their defense. And the steals haven't been there. The turnovers have been up. They're scaring me. I don't love it. Doyle's probably the only one, and Doyle's probably the only one I'd bring in and actually look at as the captain option. Magnay is a play, and I already have McVeigh, so he's just there.
How do you feel about the Jack Jumpers lining up against Cairns and Adelaide this week as matchups?
Yeah. Cairns and Adelaide. Look, the good thing is that all 3 teams are still in the mix, so it's not a dead rubber. which you kind of get at this point of the season. Sometimes teams that have clinched, so now your Melbournes and your Perth, who know they've locked up first and second, may start to rest guys. Does that start to come into consideration? Is Cotton going to rest his legs and not play 40 minutes now they're where they're at? I don't know. But look, the matchups for Tassie. Adelaide outside of Humphreys, they don't have any other bigs. So with the twin towers that Tassie have, potentially an advantage if you get Humphrey in foul trouble. And vice versa. Playing Cairns are up and down. They're bigs. We've said this before when they've played previously that they're going to try and draw the Tassie bigs out away from the bucket where they're not as comfortable. You know, when you've got your Wardenbergs, you've got your Menengas, guys hitting threes. But then are those guys as comfortable down low? So you really just need to think, how do these teams match up? And, you know, there's pros and cons.
And I do the same with Adelaide. Look, let's talk about Adelaide in general. I really like, I would have added Jack McVeigh last week. He's guard forward eligible. He's 260K. I feel like he's going to get me 25 to 34 every game. Except for when I owned him, he averaged about 22. So that was fantastic. Thanks, Jack. Big fan. Yeah. But Adelaide, actually, Rob's Punk mentioned, didn't Kel get a donut last time Adelaide played Tassie? Got shut down by Doyle?
I don't remember this, but it does ring a bell slightly. We'll have to go to the stat man for this. But look, we have said over the last couple of seasons that Tassie's defense is it makes going to Tassie a wasteland for other teams. The fantasy or Supercoach scores in the past have been well down for every team. This year, though, they're leaking like a sieve. I haven't seen it. Rob's jumped back in here and he said he got a 1. Concerning, I don't know how long ago that was. Was it in the CJ era? I don't know. But it's a different Trey Kell now, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah. I think so. But when you're looking at Adelaide, like, you've got Humphreys, you've got Kell, you've got Wiley, and DJ 3J. DJ 3J, I thought that he'd be more expensive as a non-owner. When I look at a 3-round average of 42 and the fact that he's only 280K, I think he's only 4.5% owned. I'm genuinely looking at this and wondering, hey, can DJ 3J outscore Milton Doyle? Like, maybe that's a better play this week. And he's 20K cheaper. I'm gonna get either one of them probably out the following week. Honestly, there's where my head's at. I'm off Wiley. Yep. I'm so off Wiley.
Oh, I had him in my team. I've gotten rid of him, even though he's on a double. He's been so bad. Look, I really like that Vasiljevic one. He'll be, flying high after signing a 3-year deal. He's like, Adelaide's my team now, and he plays big minutes. There's no one taking
DJ
time
3J,
off him in the backcourt.
He's 4.5% owned.
Yeah. What's Milton owned? How owned is Milton?
Sorry, my computer's spinning. You're sucking all the life out of it, having you on the live stream, champ. But there's no one else outside of Humphreys, Kell, Wiley, or DJ 3J. Even downgrading like a Starling or a Kyron Galloway or Punt on a Jason Kadee or a Mitch McCarron. It's not like a Mitch McCarron isn't a Will McDowell White, is he?
Well, the schedule's not there. I really think anything from Adelaide and Tassie has to be a 1-week play, and you're not bringing them in unless you're starting them and potentially captaining them. And you're going to need a plan to get them out, because after this week, they're irrelevant. We really only have 3 teams, possibly 4 if we're talking Melbourne and JLA, that are even semi-relevant. Illawarra, New Zealand, Perth, and maybe that point of difference in that last round with Melbourne. That's about all we need to look at for the rest of the year.
Milton Doyle is 8.2% owned, whereas DJ 3J is 4.5% owned.
Well, I think you've talked pretty much everyone into it. That seems like a done deal. We'll see how much
Yeah.
pull you have as an influencer. We'll see if that 4.2% changes over the next day or so.
Yeah, I'm legit thinking DJ3J now, and we're going to have a chat about our trade thoughts in a little minute. I thought this was going to be a short show, but we're 45 minutes in. Maybe we should look at some of the most traded in and most traded out in a second. Just give me a second. Everything's slow on my computer.
In with the Krislovich ownership. If it's one person owning him, that's me still, unfortunately.
Yeah, Hammer is the only guy in the top 5,000 with him. It's actually, it actually says that on his business card, I thought. So
I'm probably the only person in the entire world that has both him and Bawali Bale still, which was a shocker.
I love that you said probably.
Definitely.
Look, keep talking. Marcus Lee's only 3.8% owned. Sorry, everything is loading super slow on my computer.
Let me tell you a story then while you get that up. I'll tell you about my head-to-head round on the weekend. I was playing against Too Many Cooks in our Insight $1,000 pool league, and came down to the last game. So I was ahead of him on points, and then he had a bunch of bench guys like Robinson, Pidgeotto, a few of them in that Illawarra game versus New Zealand. Had Lamb as a starter. I had no one in that game except for Gary Clark and Sam Froling, but they cancelled each other out and came down to the last game. I was 14 points behind. I had Denzel Valentine as a starter. He had Denzel Valentine as a bench player. So I needed Denzel to get at least 29 to get me across the line. Went for 38 for his highest score of the season. Whew. Guaranteed a top 4 finish now, bye round next week. So thank you very much, Denzel.
Absolutely love it. You were telling me that on the phone a bit earlier, so
Yeah.
You're very excited about it.
Oh, it's throwing my plans out. I was prepared to throw the round, but yeah.
Let's have a chat about the most traded.
This is why I'm hot.
Mate, Will Magnay is the most traded in this week. 13.2% of people are bringing him in for $280K. I like it. I thought it might have been a bit more poddish. With 13% of people bringing him in, that actually deters me more than anything.
I think he's a good play for those who aren't still holding Humphreys. I think, yeah, like you could bring him in at forward, but then who are you getting rid of if you're holding Froling and you're holding Gary Clark? We've said all along, he has a very, very high upside. And I like it, but as always, you need that exit plan because he's irrelevant after this week.
The worst thing for me is, I looked at bringing in Will Magnay, but I've got Clark, I've got Froling, I've got Cheatham, and I've got Lamb. Yeah.
You're not giving any of them up.
Nah, not a chance. I'm just only trading him out to trade it back in again, really. Trey Kell, people are rectifying the mistake of not owning Trey Kell. The chat has been talking about the matchups for Trey Kell. That was round 9. I think Trey Kell's a different beast now.
I think everything to do with Adelaide's a different beast. Like, could you imagine us rewinding, 10 rounds ago and even spending this much time on Adelaide, even if it was to say how shit they are? Like, they're two different teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they were the bottom feeders. Remember how much we were ragging out on Adelaide at the start of the week? They were playing doubles and their players were scoring like 30, their best players, over the round of the weekend. They were getting pumped. Now they're great. They're signing people for 3 years that are on their team. That's a turnaround.
Playing guys big minutes. That's what you want. You just need that guaranteed opportunity there so you know what you're getting each week.
They're pumping Sydney.
Pumping them.
They're
knocking on the door of the 6.
Yeah. Milton Doyle, 8.6% of people are bringing them in. I understand that, but I think I've talked myself into DJ3J on this podcast. So
you've talked us all into it. Huge pod.
Jack McVeigh, 6.3% of people. I understand it. I won't be owning him this week. I don't see massive upside, but I don't see massive downside.
No, it's a nice to do, but look, a McVeigh, on a good week he'll give you 60. You've got the potential of saving that trade and even playing a Gary Clark on the single, who we know can go for 40 to 50. So, can you do a bit more with that money or that trade elsewhere? More than likely.
Zylan Cheatham, 270K, 5.5% owned. That's people scared of the price rise, not being able to get him the following week. Hey,
yeah, for sure.
Parker Jackson Cartwright, 4.2% of people are bringing him in. Against Perth, though, this week, going into the following week, how do you like the matchup for Parker Jackson Cartwright in particular against Perth? Will McDowell White's been playing pretty well. I think that's taking a little bit away from Parker.
Yeah, look, I think it's more of the last 2 weeks. Are you going to not have Parker Jackson Cartwright on your side? Who can you just sit on your court the last 2 weeks without having to make other trades? I think it's something a lot of guys will have, and so it's probably a position you throw to cancel out with everyone else, and try and find your pods elsewhere.
Isaac Humphries, 4.1% of people are bringing him in. I understand that. You've just got to have a contingency plan to get him out. Mine would be JLA.
Yeah, I like that. Look, it's been hard, and look, I know Hump isn't a power forward. He's a genuine centre, so it's right that he only has the centre eligibility, but it does make things a little tricky. But it's also inconsistent, isn't it? Like, you wouldn't say Sam Frolling's at all a power forward, would you?
No.
But then Will Magnay is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would have Marcus Lee 4 weeks ago if either Marcus Lee or Isaac Humphries were a centre eligible or a forward eligible.
They really need to, maybe at the halfway mark of the season, just recalibrate the positions, because Cheatham should be centre eligible. He starts every single week at centre.
In the NRL, Supercoach do it really well. In round 8, they change them, and then they change them again. I can't remember. I think it's round 16 or something like that. So in round 8 they're going to fix all their fuck ups, or not even their fuck ups. Like if
unexpected.
If a halfback starts playing at hooker due to an injury or something, and he's played 3 games there, and it looks like he's going to be there for the foreseeable future, they give him the duel. I wish they'd done that in NBL Supercoach, but it's only new. They'll make 100%. Some better.
Look, they used to do it a little bit in the fantasy, not as often as you would have liked, but when you had the actual 5 different positions rather than just guard forward, like a guy like Trey Kell at that halfway mark after they moved Mitch McCarron to the bench, you'd obviously have to make him point guard, shooting guard eligible, wouldn't you?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Jacob Wiley, people are bringing him in. I don't understand that.
No, that's a faux pas.
But my rule is over 3%, bring it up. So Todd Blanchfield is there at 127K. I might even look at him as a downgrade option this week.
Yeah, I think he's got enough upside if you can park him on your bench. He's only forward eligible though, isn't he? And we're pretty stacked at forward.
No, he's forward guard. So
he is. Oh, well, there's my Bawali Bales upgrade. Thank you very much.
Yep, I am looking at getting Todd this week as well. And DJ3J for 288K. Pretty good value there. Only 160 people, 3%. But we see that going up after this podcast, because I am all DJ3J this week. The big dog is on. I know plenty of other people got on Will McDowell White last week. That turned out all right. DJ3J, let's go.
Hashtag influencers. We really are having a bit of we're moving the market, aren't we?
Yeah, let's have a look at who's cold this week. Look, I should probably shout out Ryan from Astute Newstead. My boy Hammer's Home Finance. I believe you'll find him on Instagram and Twitter now. Look, get in contact with him. Slide into our DMs. We can get you in contact. Not only if you're looking at a new house, can he tell you how much you can borrow and what you should be looking at after having a chat with him with your income and everything like that. I had a chat to him just about my current home loan, And could he save me money? And save me a couple $100 a month, which, with interest rates going up, I really appreciate it. So it helps me do a few more things that I enjoy with an extra couple $100. And it didn't cost me anything to go to him. He just found me a different lender and set me all up. My first home loan didn't have an offset that I really wanted. He got me an offset and saved me a couple $100 a month. So shout out to Hammer. Fantastic with that. And that's actually not like a plug, and that's not anything that I'm actually supposed to read. I actually went to him and he helped me out that way. And we met him through doing things like that. He became a fan of the podcast and started sponsoring us. So the actual true story. Like,
do you take into account your podcast income?
He actually didn't, because I didn't podcast when I went to it, but he started listening to the podcast afterwards. So.
Since we've grown to 1,600 subscribers, you should go and get reassessed, mate. Your borrowing capacity is probably through the roof now.
Yeah, I can't wait. I might be able to get the roof fixed. It's leaking. So,
Thoughts and prayers.
10% of people are trading out Jalen Adams. 8% of people are trading out Denzel Valentine. That is, with the way that they've been playing, just schedule related. They've been great. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Your services have been very well received, but 100% schedule. They've done what they had to do, but there's a lot of cash to hold there, isn't it? That you can be spending. Either bringing in, almost a sideways move from Valentine to DJ 3J this week, or starting to prep for those final rounds. Even if that means downgrading and banking a little cash to get one of those big dogs for the last couple of rounds.
And another big dog, little dog that people are trading out of is Bryce Cotton, 7.1%. A 457K is just hard to hold someone with two singles in a row.
It is, but I also don't think it's critical that you do it this week. It's a really hard one. Like, with so many teams on singles, if you're going to hold him, these 2 rounds aren't that bad to do it. Like, I think it can be done. But if you are spending those funds elsewhere, all good. But you may want to be bringing back those last couple of doubles, right?
Well, it's only the one double coming up. It's just the last one. But you did ask me, who could I play on a single? And the answer is Bryce Cotton. Banner.
Yeah, he is him.
Sam Froling, people trading him out. I do not understand that. I know he was pretty ordinary over the weekend. It's not a pod. Over 2 games, Sam Froling's going to outscore basically anyone. There is nobody center eligible from New Zealand that you can hold. Sam Froling is must have. If you're trading out Sam Froling this week, reverse your trade. This is wrong.
100%. There really is no alternative at center until the very last round when JLA comes in, or you may think about Pinder. But
that's it.
These next couple of rounds, look, I don't think Hump went for like 8 last round or something, or 16 over both games, something like that. You're right, man. Rollings must own, and you can massage. Even if you're bringing in someone else at centre this week, you can move him to power forward. He's got that luxury.
Jordan Hunter, people are just trading him out due to the schedule as well.
Yep,
you've been a great servant to the team. You were cheaper than 200K. Now you're 265K. Not only did you make us money, you also got us a lot of points. Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. He's writing a book or something into sci-fi. No. He's a bit of a cool cat.
Oh, I'll read that. I'm a bit of a nerd myself.
Yeah, maybe it was a screenplay or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to Google it after this. Akala Gak, 155K, people trading him out. I mean, sure, whatever.
Cans are cooked. I mean, for that kind of coin, have you got extra cash to upgrade? Are you downgrading to save cash elsewhere? I don't know.
To me, it's not even worth going down to Blanchfield because you're not making that much money.
No, only if you've got a luxury trade, really. But sometimes if you got that trade, do it. I've been waiting for a luxury trade for half the season to get rid of my couple of duds, but it just hasn't come.
My luxury trade was Taron Armstrong to Will McDowell-White last week. So
luxurious. I like it.
Yeah. Jalen Galloway, 4.1% of people are getting off that, I suppose, train that's heading towards a bridge and there's like the bridge isn't finished or something. I don't know. He's 154K now. That's a mess.
100%. Roadrunner's underneath that bridge, about to blow it up with a ton of TNT. He's and hang on, where has DJ Hogue been all season? He's played what, 5 games? That's got to be one of the most disappointing parts of the year.
He might come back for actual finals and revive the Sydney team. I can see them making it. Like, I don't see them getting knocked out in the first round. Sydney.
I don't see him making finals.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll limp through.
Possibly.
Brisbane's there. I'll tell you that for free. They'll beat them. Taron Armstrong, 185K, 3.3% of people are getting off that. Thank you, Taron.
Yeah. I think it's probably what you did. It's that sideways move to Will McDowell-White, schedule upside. Look, Taron's had a solid rookie season. Wasn't as great as we thought, but we were probably ambitious and probably unfair to him with the expectations we had, and he'll be a very solid pick at that price next year.
Yeah, and like he's not going to the draft or anything like that. I think he's going to be a great NBL player for years to come.
Yeah, and I think Cairns will be able to, construct their roster knowing what they have. You can sit him at point guard next to, a really good combo guard. You don't have to bring in that extra point guard for reassurance, or insurance next time.
Keanu Pinder, people are getting off that. That's maybe Perth going through a couple of singles. Pinder was great this week. He was in top 10 players. And he's only 289K.
Yeah, it's just not the same Pinder that we had in Cairns, but I think we understand that now, and we're comfortable with his price and with what he's producing, that we know what it is now.
But I feel like it's a bit rough on Pinder that we're talking about the sensational week that Zylan Cheatham had. He's 10K cheaper. Yes, he scored 10 more points. And then Pinder scored 60 points for the week. And we're like, yeah, he was all right.
Yeah, but Cheatham also didn't start the season at 450K. So,
yeah.
How the mighty have fallen.
And Mitch Creek, 2.7% of people are getting off him. Yeah. That's schedule related. He's been good. I would get off Mitchell Creek if I had him.
Yeah, it's too much cash.
Mate, let's talk about our personal trade.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
Mate, do you want to go first?
Sure. I have gotten rid of Denzel Valentine. And I've gotten rid of Mitch Creek. So those two out, and I've brought in Anthony Lamb, and I have brought in Zylan Cheatham on my bench. So, look, bit of disclaimer, I'm probably more focused on the head-to-head now rather than the overall. I'm sitting about 700th and mid-700s or something now. So I think it's going to probably be of more benefit to look at the head-to-head. I've got the buy round this week after winning last week, so I've got that luxury of almost stockpiling trades for 2 weeks to try and get my way into that final. So that's sort of where I'm at. So it looks a little funky for this week, but look, my team at the moment, I've also got Trey Kell and Isaac Humphries in that starting lineup. So and McVeigh. So there's a little bit of flavour in there to put up a semi-respectable score. What about you, mate? You're still going overall.
Yeah, I'm still going overall. I'm 450th or something along those lines.
Beautiful.
I'm going to be trading out Denzel Valentine, and I think I've got to trade out Usher the way that I've got, your Clarks, your Lambs, your Cheathams, your Rollins, your Humphreys in the guys that I have in duels there. So I'm actually going to bring in DJ 3J and Hyung Lee. I've been chatting about Hyung Lee for a little while. He's gone up in cash a little bit. I don't love the Hyung Lee. I honestly am considering going Blanchfield over Hyung Lee and just banking 100K. That's the decision I'll make throughout the week. But basically, I'm going to get Hyung Lee or I'm going to get Blanchfield. That will allow me to have DJ3J, Trey Kell, and Humphreys on doubles this week. I'm going to captain DJ3J, I think. I think so many people are going to captain Trey Kell this week. I think if he does flop, DJ3J is probably the most likely to go well. I'm going to start Anthony Lamb on a single and probably Gary Clark on a single. Still sitting Cheatham, Froling, Robinson, and Will McDowell-White. All guys that are going to be playing doubles to finish the year.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. You've done very well.
What do you think about Hyung Lee versus Blanchfield? Because I wouldn't mind just talking about it out loud.
Yeah, look, anytime you want to unpack your feelings, that's cool. Look,
please.
I'd be leaning towards Blanchfield. I think what you got to consider is that extra 100K and how you can use it. And look, Hyung Lee's been up and down. He's had a couple of games where, like, Wani Swakala Bullock was out and he got that extended burn. And he had a lot of rebounds. He didn't get that the last couple of weeks. Whereas Blanchfield's he's had a block, a steal. He's been across the stat sheet. He's been very aggressive looking for his shot. So look, what would you say Hyung Lee would average? Like maybe 14 and Blanchfield would average 9? So is that extra 100K in your pocket worth, let's say over 2 games, 10 points compared to what am I going to spend to next week?
When I've got Trey Kell, 378K, Isaac Humphreys, 339K, and DJ Vasilovic at 288K, what the fuck am I going to spend that 100K on? Like, I can go Trey Kell to Parker Jackson Cartwright, straight up. I can go Isaac Humphreys to JLA, straight up. I don't know what I'm going to spend the 100K on, but yeah, maybe Blanchfield's in better form than Hyung Lee.
Yeah. But look, talking about that 100K, there's this really wise guy, and he comes out with some absolute pearlers sometimes. And this one time he said to me, that sometimes it's not what you save, it's what you spend. Maybe this is that situation.
I really thought it was going towards something like Rob's Punk going, Hyung Lee was like a girl you liked in high school.
Oh, the stories I could tell, Rob. Sometimes you shouldn't upgrade to the older guy that has the car. Look, there's nothing wrong with a brother with a bus pass sometimes.
I'm with you. Let's go through. I haven't heard your captain yet, so let's go through our captain.
Captain, my captain. Go captain, my captain.
Mine's DJ3J. And that's a pod move because I think everybody's going to go Trey Kell. And I think there's a chance he flops.
Well, I hope you're wrong because I'm going to go Trey Kell. It was a tough choice between him and Bawali Bales or Fabian Krislovic on the double. But, yeah, look, I'm banking on Trey Kell keeping his form going and the Jack Jumpers continuing to leak like a sieve.
Nah, sounds good. Let's get straight into some of these questions.
It's question time. Let's answer your questions for the week ahead.
Mate, as always, we've got some really good questions coming through. Rob's Punk with the early one. You think he's going to roll the dice on Doyle from Parker Jackson Cartwright? 1, because he loves him. And 2, because he's a pod to help him get into the top 500. Mm-hmm. Now, I chatted a little bit about DJ3J being a bigger pod this week than Milton Doyle. Probably just Milton Doyle being the bigger name, being the better team, not playing on Adelaide. But Adelaide are probably a better Supercoach team than Tasmania at the moment. Yeah. I'm just wondering if he could save that 20K and go DJ3J. Can you doctor Rob's Punk right now?
Look, I know that comment came through earlier. I'd be interesting to I'd be interested to see if Rob Spunk's changed his mind after. Well, there we go. He has changed his mind after you've dropped that Matrix truth bomb.
Yeah, look, and it's like it's not just me throwing numbers out. Like DJ3J's been good all year. Yes, he does probably have a low floor, but so does Milton Doyle at the moment. He's had some ordinary games. He's had some games where he's sort of just would you say just fell back into the shadows a little bit?
Look, he's not your normal superstar. He lets the game come to him. And sometimes you just feel like he lets the game come to him too much. So he gets three-quarter time and it hasn't come to him. And then he thinks, oh, I should do something. We've seen the last few weeks. Like he had 19 points in the last quarter and took it to double overtime after having, not touched the ball for the first 3 quarters of the game. So DJ's going to force it a lot more. He's going to, if he hasn't had a shot in the first 3 minutes of the game, he's going to pull up one dribble over halfway and throw up a prayer. But yeah, look, as great of a player as Milton Doyle is, and I love how he lets the game come to him, sometimes it doesn't work for fantasy.
Corey's having a chat about the fact that he wants JLA for the last round, but needs Parker Jackson Cartwright at Lamb. And saying that he'd probably just miss Parker Jackson Cartwright over Lamb. I probably agree with that. But when it comes to getting JLA a week early or whatever, the break-even's only 14, and he is susceptible to a score. Honestly, susceptible to playing 17 minutes, in which case he might only score, 25 Supercoach points. In which case, yes, he does cost you a little bit of extra money, but I don't think it's worth overlooking some guys that are on a double a week earlier than JLA. So I think the target should be Parker Jackson Cartwright and Lamb, and then maybe JLA for the last week. But I don't think Humphreys to JLA is going to be too bad. Like honestly, you could just end up nuffing someone for the last week to get yourself JLA. He is looking like he is my captain option the last week.
Yeah. And look, keep in mind, though, Melbourne are more than likely, a little bit could play out and might keep it interesting between Perth and Melbourne. We know those two are going to finish 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out in that last round to see if it's a dead rubber. Because if we're not playing for home finals, we're probably going to see Kyle Bowen playing 35 minutes.
And you don't want to... And you don't want to do that the week before. You want to do that the last week, correct?
Yeah. But it's interesting because Perth and Melbourne are on that double. I think a lot of these decisions may be ladder-based. Because it's going to come down to percentage. It's going to come down to, head-to-head and a few of those things for those last couple of ladder positions with some of these teams. So, see what happens there. But if they've got something to play for, these guys will be trying to run up the score to keep the percentage high.
Corey had a matchup. He lost by 1, but had Cheatham on the bench. And just missed out on the double-double from Cheatham. Yeah. So that one stung a little bit.
Our trouble hurt.
Really good question. Would you start Kyron Galloway over Lamb or Clark 2-game versus 1 with Wiley back? The answer from me is no.
No. Yep. I'm a no as well. 100%. He broke out when they had no alternative at power forward, and he was great. But I just don't see them. Look, he may get a little extra burn, but he's not going to be playing 30 minutes with Wiley back. I think you could pencil him in for 15 and 15. Lamb or Clark are likely to go over 30.
No, sounds good, mate. Look, I'm excited about the upcoming week. I think it's going to be a big one. I think I'm going to tread water while still be in good stead for the upcoming last couple rounds. I think I've knocked out of most of my head-to-head, and that's probably from focusing on overall. But I just want to put on my bio maybe a top 300 NBL Supercoach player. So I'm doing my absolute best.
Surely we can both put Insight Fantasy Community Team contributors top 50 finish.
Yeah, Insight
Make sure you get
Community
into the
Team
Discord this week, guys, and help us out with big trades.
Look, I think we've got to wrap this one up. We went a bit longer than expected, but we just get excited about chatting about NBL. We appreciate everybody coming through, even through the pointy end of the season. And you've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Cheerio.